Welcome back to Division I Rejects. The draft is over. Small school products, while maybe didn't succeed too much in the actual NFL draft, that is, there have been a ton of guys earning themselves opportunities to play in the National Football League. And newsflash, we're going to talk about a lot of them tonight. I'm going to go through a lot of the D2 guys taking the next step in their dreams of playing pro ball. Jimmy Martin joins me to talk about the D3 guys signing some undrafted free agent deals. Even had a couple NAIA guys put the pen to paper this weekend. A lot of really exciting stuff, trying to show appreciation and shine some light on those guys on all of our social platforms. Otherwise, joined by Pat Rogers tonight, the defensive back out of Central Washington, where he's a first-team All-American at the D2 level. He has some great news to share with us right at the beginning of that interview, so stick around for that one. This is D1R 159 on April 29th. Otherwise, tonight, like I said, a lot of it, small school players getting to the NFL, making it happen. We have a D3 school switching conferences, which is kind of an interesting little piece of news. Harding, no surprise, making some monsters in the weight room. I had to show you guys the numbers from this dude. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. Just an absolute unit in the weight room. Wanted to shine light on it because D2 dudes get it done too. Finally, though, funny tweet, had an awful take on the old X platform that I just needed to just bring up here and talk about, so that'll be towards the end of the episode. Per usual, timestamps, video chapters, bottom of the episode. Go through, find any part that you want. Stick around for all of it. Either way, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I wanted to start this episode out, though, on a little bit of a different note, on a congratulatory note to our guy, Schwarzler, who just started his new gig. You can see it right there. Accepted a position as the Assistant Athletic Director of Communications at St. Martin's University. Excuse me. The man, Matt Schwarzler, who, if you guys aren't familiar, comes on our show, is kind of like our NAIA plug and insider. He is the man that knows it all. Played at Dakota Wesleyan and was recently with the Portland Pickles. But now going over to St. Martin's University, unfortunately, they don't have football, which stinks, so you can't get him to like the inside scoop on whatever they got going on. But really excited for him in his new role. I know he was super pumped. Like I said, he was with the Portland Pickles, like a semi-pro baseball team, but he's super excited to get back into the world of college athletics. So I had to shout him out to start this episode. But before we get into any of that, subscribe on the YouTube, follow us on the socials. I really appreciate you guys all tuning in. Really want to provide great coverage for all these D2, D3, NAIA guys who are taking that next step as far as making it to their professional dreams. Let's get right into the episode with Pat Rogers. Joining the show tonight, it's a first-team All-American from the Evergreen State. That's a new nickname. I figured that one out today. This guy put up some wildly impressive numbers at his pro day, looking to take his play to the next level. Sounds like got some great news for us in the show here from the secondary at Central Washington. It's Pat Rogers. What's up, fella? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Nice to be on this show.
Dude, pumped to get you on here and talking even, we were going to get to it later, but kind of the next steps moving forward. It sounds like you've got a great opportunity in front of you right off the get-go here, man. Let me hear it.
Yeah, so I was going through this whole process, was a little anxious, but not exactly what I wanted. But yeah, I ended up finding out that I would be going to Winnipeg for the Blue Bombers. So pretty excited for that opportunity.
That's big time, dude. And yeah, like you said, maybe not the way in your brain you saw this playing out beforehand, but there's just so many, the percentage of dudes that you're a part of now, like that elite percentage. Everyone likes to talk about the percentage of dudes that go play college football in the first place, right, and then even play any lick of professional football. I don't even know what kind of fractions we're looking at, but they're small, right?
Right, even smaller.
And you're one of the guys, one of the many guys that didn't hear their name called this weekend, and being at a smaller school is a huge part of that. One D2 player drafted this year. Like, I'm going into this. That's why I'm not a talent evaluator. We're going to talk about a lot of guys that hopefully are going to, make some next steps just like you are. But it's a good thing I'm not a talent evaluator. I thought at least like 5. At least. I thought that was like the bar. Like seeing these guys and their draft grades coming out, the pro day numbers. And although you maybe didn't expect to be a part of that draft class, I know something after the draft, you were certainly expecting to be in the conversation for a lot of those UDFA deals and those things. What was that experience like? That had to be tough, especially seeing some other guys at your level start to ink those deals.
Yeah, so there's a draft class that I trained with, and there was probably like 8 guys. And so seeing them all get signed, I was like, okay, I might be next, you know what I mean? Because I'm training with them, put up just as good numbers. But then, yeah, when they all were, signing those deals and stuff, I was like, dang, I'm not getting that call. And so I was like, I kind of already had like a plan B, and that was, go to that
Mhm.
CFL route. And so when I didn't get that call, I was just like, well, I just gotta make the best of it, And so yeah, it was a little anxious, a little rough, but I think God has a plan for me, and so it might not be what I wanted, but it's gonna be what's best for me. And so
100%. Like I was kind
yeah, I
of
just
saying
look
earlier, like
forward.
that doesn't have to be the end for you, right? It certainly is not
Mhm.
an end in the road. It's just taking a different path, maybe to where you
Right.
eventually want to end up. And I think guys have to understand that too. Like that's, you know what I mean? From an outsider's perspective, that might be this incredible drop off, but there are so many guys that have made that exact journey. You're not the first one to do it. You won't be the
Right.
last. I think that's a pretty comforting idea. Like whatever I go
Yeah.
through in my life, I'm like, man, there's a good chance that I'm not the first dude that's had to go through this, and there's a better chance that I won't be the last one. So,
Right.
I think that's big time. But now you're in a spot where you've earned that opportunity. Now you get to go
Mhm.
out, show the skill set off. When did you make ultimately that decision? Was that a conversation with your agent or whoever's representing you of, hey, maybe we should look at this other route of going to like a CFL, UFL, whatever that kind of alternate option
Mhm.
was? When did that come about originally?
Um, it was I was kind of late to signing with my agent,
Hmm.
but we started talking more about it kind of when we first started talking, because he was saying you're coming from a smaller school, and the chances of getting the undrafted free agency would be pretty slim. And then on top of that, going to rookie camp and then having to make the rookie camp and then go to the fall camp.
Absolutely.
So it's such a long process. And he had just called me 2 days ago. What's today? Monday. Yeah. So he called me on Saturday, Sunday, after the draft happened, and he was just like, "These are the options that we could look forward into. You know what I mean? Have a higher possibility of still getting to the professional route." And um yeah, and so yeah, we was talking about that, and I was kind of talking to my girlfriend too, because she's been a big role into like this whole
Absolutely.
process. So I was talking to her, and then yeah, my agent the last 2 days, and yeah, that was kind of decision. And for me, it's just all about opportunity. And so I looked at it as, yeah, I can do these 2 years, get some film, and still develop my skills, because I think that's what a lot of NFL, scouts are looking at, is like, yeah, he played D2, and then the competition level isn't
Yep.
necessarily there.
Yep.
And so I looked at it as just opportunity, just to continue just to build my skill set, my mindset, um, and yeah, and just continue just to be an overall better person. And
And I
so,
think that's a big part of the conversation too. And then you talked about it right at the beginning is that like this wasn't a oh shit moment. Like, oh shit, I didn't get my name called. We have to figure out like something else has to
right,
go. This was something that you guys acknowledged that in the first place. And like, we're going to have something prepared because for someone like you, not that you don't have a backup plan outside of football and that you're not prepared for life after football, but obviously you're putting all your chips into this right now and you're
okay,
100% invested in this. So for you to not be prepared to have alternate routes to get to that end goal would be foolish because you're putting so much into this. Like you said, you're training at this level with all these guys who are, have the same goals as you. And I think that's a really important part of that conversation. But let's talk about, you talk about the numbers. Let's talk about your pro day a bit, man, because you put up some ridiculous numbers. Talk about that experience and maybe what you learned from there. You had to leave that pro day feeling pretty confident.
yeah, I was pretty happy. So going into the pro day, I didn't have a pro day at all, and so the place I was training at was FSP in Bellevue, north of Seattle. Um, so yeah, I was training up there, and I was just trying to like just build my connections and just use my resources to my best advantage. And so I ended up talking to one of the guys I was at Wazoo, and I was like, can you talk to your coach and maybe try to find out a way that I can get into your guys' pro day. And he said, so he ended up talking to him, and then I ended up getting into the pro day, but I needed a scout to invite me, and
Yep.
so I ended up having to connect and getting my way into there. And then Wazoo, they was going to be doing the pro day outside, and so they ended up doing a joint pro day with Idaho, and so that's why Wazoo and Idaho ended up going
Gotcha.
into the Ibby Dome, yeah, doing it indoors, because
Yeah.
it was just they didn't want no weather to factor in everybody's numbers and stuff like that. And so yeah, just being there, it was probably like 25 athletes there, so like about 10 and 10 each from Wazoo and Idaho. But going in there, it was pretty cool experience just being able to be in that position. Like I said before, like nobody in my senior class even had the opportunity to go to a pro day. So for me to represent all the smaller school guys and my team, it was an honor to do that. And to put up those numbers, it was even cool. I wish I would have ran a little bit faster, and
Hey,
I'm gonna still continue working on my
yeah,
speed. But overall, yeah, I was pretty impressed. I had jumped to 40 and a half, but they ended up scratching me, so I was kind of bummed out about that.
man.
But still to get that 39.5, I think that really like gave me more confidence in for like the rest of the pro day. Kind of like set the tone, like okay, I'm gonna have a pretty solid day. And yeah, and the other thing that kind of like bummed me out, I did the shuttle about like 4 times, and so I was like super tired. Like with the emotions going and stuff, you get
Hell yeah.
tired pretty quick. And so after doing that 4 times, I was like, dang. But I never really let those things kind of like deter or like kind of set the tone for, set the rest of the day. So I just trying to brush that off and just kept going about my business and had a pretty good field day with the drills and stuff like that. So yeah, I was like, overall, I was really impressed and really just thankful for that whole opportunity.
Yeah, and
So,
that's got to be, if anything, just fuel for you moving forward because
yeah,
it'd be one thing if you went in there and your numbers where there was just this large disparity between the guys that are getting those deals right now and if there was this big gap, then you're like, okay, like that's kind of tough to overcome. You train in those areas, but the fact that you're like the cutoff is not here, it's here, right? And you're
right.
very close. Now everything, at least again, correct me if I'm wrong, but from an outsider's perspective, everything is in your control. And so now you control what happens next. Assuming you get in there, go into Winnipeg, earn yourself a job, earn yourself a spot, and start making plays. Now you have things in front of you that are under your control, which is I would imagine a much more comfortable part of the process because everything up to this has been giving away control. You do everything you can, control what you can, but there are all these variables and other things and trying to get people to believe in the player and person that you are. So I'd imagine there's a sense of comfort over these next couple steps.
And that's all I ever told myself is just control the controllable, and that's your emotions and the way you approach things. And I always also told myself was just take advantage of all the opportunities. As long as I'm given the opportunity, then I'll take care of the rest. And so far that's what I've done. And now I got another opportunity at the CFL, and so I'm gonna just take advantage of that, do what I have to do.
Hell yeah, dude. That'll be awesome. And I was telling you earlier, like, man, as an American too, like it's tough to. Cause I mean, I shouldn't assume. Like, do you have like, are you Canadian? Like, do you have any like in there or?
I
Okay,
don't.
because there's some guys I know. Like, there was a quarterback for Augustana, Casey Bauman, I think it
Mhm.
was, who went to the CFL draft and like had that kind of like really in his like back pocket because it's a lot easier to get into the league if you've got that. I don't know if it's like a dual citizenship thing, whatever the hell's got going on, but if you're an American, it's tough because you've obviously got the limits on those rosters. So not only are you just trying to make a pro roster, you're only one of what is it like 20 or
Might,
less? I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Is there
20.
somewhere around there, right? And it's like you're not only can you be in this position group might be tough, but just as an American, they might be at their limit. So you
Mhm.
definitely got a lot of stuff ahead of you. But let's talk about that Wildcat squad in 23, man. And you guys surprised a lot of people, myself included. But we'll start at the beginning of the season. Weber State, FCS side, Montana Tech, an NAIA squad that came out, and I'm sure you guys took some flack for that one, but they panned out to be a really solid football team. And now for me, I wasn't really hip to you guys at the beginning of the season, to be honest. But heading into week 3, you got Angelo State, number 9 team in the country. This kind of losing thing could have turned into a real slide at that point.
Yeah.
But you bounce back, make some big plays defensively, and turn that one around. What did that do for your guys' season, man? That had to be such a big turning point.
Man, I think it's just a testament to our resiliency. Like coming into Weber State, for me, I wasn't able to play because I was going through ankle surgery and I had
Okay, gotcha.
got a foot injury during the fall camp. But for the Weber State game, it was tied up 14-14 at halftime, and so we started getting like a little big headed. We're like, okay, we can hang with these guys. They're not as good as we thought they were. But then the good teams always know how to finish, and so that's something we had to learn. And then going into the Montana Tech game. They're at NAIA, so we kind of overlooked them. We're like
Oh yeah.
not taking it as serious. But then I think it was good that we lost because it turned everything, or turned our whole mindset around. And we're like, man, we can't take the rest of the season light. You know what I mean? We got to come into practice every day with the mindset of wanting to get better every single day. And so I think if it wasn't for us losing to Montana Tech, I think we would have got complacent and kind of like went into each week, thinking we're this good of a team and probably would have lost because throughout the whole season, we was winning a lot of the close games. And that's
Yeah,
what it's really
totally.
about. It don't matter how you win or how it looks as long as you get that dub up. So, yeah, going through this whole after the Montana Tech game, going into Angelo, we knew we had to beat them because they're the reigning conference champs, and it's something that we had to get done. And after beating them, it was like, okay, let's focus on going 1-0 each week. And so that's kind of how it just turned out for the rest of the season. And yeah, it's just we had that chip on our shoulders, that underdog mentality. And so, because we're not the biggest, we're not the fastest, we don't really pass the eye test when you look at it
For
as a
sure.
team, but
Yeah.
we just knew how to play together and how to finish. That was the biggest thing I think from this year to the previous years of our teams is being able to finish, especially the close games.
Yeah. And you went after that Angelo State game. I believe it was it Western Oregon. You had 2 picks that game?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That probably felt nice too. Keep it rolling there. But
but yeah, Tanner,
what's
that'd be
nice
Tanner.
about that, I mean, that you start 0-2, but then you get into that Angelo State game, and that's the start of conference play. So in a sense, that's clean
Yeah,
slate for you guys too, moving forward, and all
mhm.
those goals that you talk about at the beginning of the season are still very much on the table. The conference championship being one of them, and you guys were very close to accomplishing that one. Regular season doesn't end the way you want it to. A tough one against UTPB, who just came out of
Yeah,
nowhere. Their offense just exploded out of nowhere. But you guys turn into just the definition of road warriors in the playoffs. Go out and beat some teams once again, surprising a lot of people. Myself, the guys in this room, we were talking about playoffs. You surprised all of us. I mean, you talk about Bemidji, Western, like those are
hmm
games you won the close games before. You did it in the playoffs. It's just a testament to this team, man. Where did that come from?
I think it was just continue to keep the ball rolling. You know what I mean? And also when we had lost that conference championship, we're like, it's kind of like a reset. Reset button into the playoffs. We're like, okay, we got a clean slate. Kind of just like with the Montana. We had a clean slate with the conference plays, and so that was kind of just our mentality. Is just like we're always going to be counted out no matter what. Some people don't even believe we should be here because we lost to the Montana Tech, and we're like, let's just prove people wrong. Let's prove ourselves right at the end of the day. And it was crazy that we had to go travel back to back to back weeks,
Yep.
and it was kind of tough, but it was well worth the experience. And man, I was just proud of our guys for being able to accomplish that.
Traveling ain't nothing new to you guys. I mean,
Yeah,
you're pretty isolated out over there. When the hell are we going to get some more teams out that way, man? The fact that you
man,
guys, every away game is a damn near cross-continental trip.
like the bus trips, the traveling. So we got to fly commercial, so that's 5-hour trip, and on top of that, we got to take the bus when we do arrive to Texas, and that's like another, depending on how far the airport is.
Yeah.
So that's like another 2-3 hours of
Hell no.
the bus ride. So the experiences is pretty fun because you get to bond with your teammates,
Yeah.
but the toll it takes on your body. Because I had some times where like I come off the bus, my joints is aching. I'm like, man, we gotta get ready for this game tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm no stranger to bus trips. Our typical away trip up here at Northern is like anywhere between 6 and 9 hours. So like I get it there, but that's even to a lesser extent than what you guys are kind of dealing with, man. The lack of smaller school football on that West Coast is definitely a frustrating one. It's a weird deal. But talk about the dynamic of that defensive backfield. Bringing Tanner back for that squad is obviously going to be a huge piece. What was the dynamic like with you two out there?
Uh, at first, so we had like a different safety position because the previous year before that we had a strong safety. His name was Jalil. He did really good for because our strong safety he's in the box, so he's like the more the run stopping
Yep. Oh
safety,
yeah.
and he ended up leaving, so that was kind of like a big piece to our boundary, like our defensive backside. And so when he left, we ended up adding a different safety, but it didn't end up like working out how we wanted to. So we had to move Tanner from free safety to strong safety,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest is history. It ended up like working out really good for him because
Yeah.
ended up getting a
Yeah.
crazy 13 interceptions, and I ain't never seen like just being a part of that was just crazy to see. Like, how are you just always in the right position to get the ball? I'm like, man, but it really helped our team, and that's what led us to, I think, the playoffs too. It's not like a one-man thing, but
Yeah.
turnovers is really big, and he always found a way to get the job done when it really counted. And that had to do with everybody just doing their job. You know, the D-line getting to the quarterback, and the corners or the nickels. You know, everybody just doing their job. And so, with the defensive backfield, it was experience. We had the most experience out of all the positions, but I was the only senior, so they're
Yeah.
going to be coming with more experience, more older guys. So it'll
That's
be
big.
pretty. And
Yeah, that's good.
And I don't know if they're gonna plan on moving Tanner back to free safety or strong safety. It just depends.
We'll leave that. We'll let the other teams figure that out week 0 or week 1 or whatever. They got a week 0 this year?
I believe so. I think.
Do they? Okay. I know a lot of teams have toyed with that, which is awesome. I love that we're adding that to D2 ball. But
Yeah.
what's next steps for you? When do you get up there and start working? Have any of those dates been finalized yet, or you're still like very early process as far as Winnipeg goes?
So I believe the camp starts May 6th, so
Okay.
that's gonna be next Sunday. Yeah, super early.
Damn. Okay.
Super early turnover. And so I think I have to talk to the people from Winnipeg, but I should be leaving around Sunday.
Okay.
And get down there, and then get the ball rolling. And so plan on doing that. And I think the camp is 3 weeks long.
Yep.
So that'll be from May all the way up into end of May. And then I'm not sure when the CFL season starts. I think it's like mid-June.
Yeah.
So things
you'll
get
figure out real quick. Yeah. You're gonna figure out real quick.
And so I'm over here watching, CFL stuff and trying to learn the rules and understand the game a little bit more. So when I do get there, it's nothing new to me. And so it'll be like an easier transition. But yeah, I'm not new to like all the, tough situations that I'll be put in. So I think I'll be just fine. I just gotta, just ask questions and bond with the guy. So
you'll make the most of it, dude. It's gonna be exciting. Gonna be exciting next couple weeks, month for you, man. I'm excited to follow along and see where it takes you, dude. Like you said, just the first step. You don't know what step 2 looks like, but all you can control is what you got in front of you, man. Keep that mindset. You'll go a long way, brother.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah,
well, Pat, I appreciate it, man. That's all I have for you tonight.
Appreciate you for letting me be on this podcast. It was an honor, especially like just seeing that, like I was saying earlier, previously, just seeing that you had made a video and then had my name mentioned. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool, because
hell yeah,
my whole life is just me being an underdog and trying to get my name out there, and it was just somehow I just couldn't. But slowly but surely, having that pro day is allowing me to get myself out there. So
hey, I might have been the first. I ain't gonna be the last, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Sweet.
Sure.
Sweet, brother. Well, have a good night. I'll talk to you, man.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
See ya. Division II players making it to the NFL. There was only one guy drafted out of D2 in this year's NFL draft, but we're here today to talk about just about all the guys who have either signed undrafted free agent deals or have received invites to mini camps at the NFL level. Now, before I get going, I want to say I might miss a name or 2 or 3 or 5. Hopefully that's the case, because that means there's more guys getting opportunities from small school football. If I do, or if you want to see even more updated stuff, please, I encourage you, go to our Twitter, just hit the likes button right here, and you're going to see a bunch of stuff about a bunch of different guys. We try to at least like or we'll repost sometimes a lot of the things when guys get these opportunities. Please just go onto our Twitter, go to the likes, and you'll see at least the most updated stuff as far as this is concerned. Because like I said, I'm trying to cover it all tonight. We'll see if I can actually do that. Now, the guy that did get drafted, I said there was one Division II player that got drafted. That was a dude that I don't think I really was surprised by. Mike Jarrell from the University of Findlay down in the GMAC in Ohio. He gets picked round 6, pick 207 to the Seattle Seahawks. And if you guys know anything about Mike, we had their head coach, Corey Curtis, on from Findlay just a few weeks ago, talked glowingly about him, a guy they've developed at Findlay, and guy that scouts have known that Mike was going to be a pro prospect. Coach Curtis came on here a couple weeks ago and talked about when scouts came to campus, Mike was a freshman. And an unnamed NFL scout, as he said, came up to Coach and said, Coach, we were just at an SEC team last week. They don't have freshmen built like that. Mike is a dude that is ready to play at the pro level. What's really cool about this, too, I got to show you the video. You guys have probably seen like the getting the call videos from a lot of different teams. This one for Mike Jarrell from the Seahawks was just a really cool video and kind of funny in the same way. So let's check that out first here.
Hey, Michael, John Schneider with the Seattle Seahawks. How you doing, buddy? Doing good. How you doing?
Good, man. You had a great visit. We're getting ready to select you right here at 207, okay?
Oh, shit. For
Oh,
real?
yeah, for real.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
for
let's go.
real.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael Johnson, I was the
Dude.
Seattle Seahawks. How you doing, buddy?
Oh shit, for real? That is such a like genuine, like just shocked reaction because we talk about the volume of D2 guys that get drafted. The number is very low, right? So for him to be getting this call, you kind of get towards the end of the draft. And for those who aren't familiar with kind of the draft process, a lot of these conversations with guys that are going to be potential like high priority undrafted free agents, those conversations start before the draft is even over, which is kind of ridiculous. But I remember talking to Trey Botts, Trey Botts was a defensive lineman from CSU Pueblo, and he had his UDFA deal done before the draft was even over. That was last year, and he went to the Ravens. So a lot of this stuff happens before. So for him to be assuming that the Seahawks were going to call him about potentially getting a like a UDFA deal done, it really is not ridiculous. Now, talking a little bit more about Mike, played tackle in college. Potentially, a lot of people talk about him moving to guard at the NFL level. Would not surprise me at all. He's pretty well-rounded in that regard, and a lot of guys his size play that position. He's 6'5", 294 pounds, so 6'5", 300, we'll say. So certainly not like undersized, but you have seen the tackle position go for guys that are even taller than that at a lot of different spots. Ran a sub 5-second 40-yard dash. At 6'5", 300 pounds, he ran a 4.94. That would have tied for the second fastest times among NFL offensive linemen at the Combine, but he wasn't invited to the event, unfortunately. But it's going to be really exciting for him. This is what draft analyst Lance Zierlein had to say about him. Don't know who he is. I'm just trying to pull some pieces off here. He says Jarrell is nowhere near ready to take an NFL snap, but his traits and athleticism might be worth a developmental plan. To be sure, Jarrell's a project. However, he should be able to improve as both a run and pass blocker with a year in technique work. He's limber enough with good range to climb to linebackers or set out the edge rushers. Jarrell's unlikely to be drafted, but his tools might entice a team to bring him in for a longer look in camp. Boom, proven wrong. Seahawks go ahead and take the fella in the 6th round. That is pretty awesome. Now, moving forward, if there was one guy going into this, a D2 guy, where there were probably two guys where I would have said, hey, if there's going to be D2 guys name called, these are probably going to be the guys. Kyle Sheets is probably on the top of my list. He did not get his name called in the NFL draft, but very quickly we saw that he ended up getting a deal done. He's heading over to New Orleans on a free agent deal. Kyle Sheets, for those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to pull up his actual bio on the football website just so I don't misquote the numbers. He's 6'4", 220. And the dude ran really solid numbers and had like everything else, the measurables there. 6'4", 220. He's 3rd in program history at Slippery Rock, a squad that is just a perennial playoff team in touchdown catches. 4th in program history in receiving yards. This dude has filled up every stat in the book. He's played in a lot of big-time football games, big-time playoff moments. And again, the size and just stature of this dude, I thought for sure would have enticed a team to take him off the board because you just don't have wide receivers built like this guy who have the contested catch radius of this guy. I could go on and on. So I thought he was going to be one that would go off the board. I was proven wrong. This is why I'm not a talent evaluator. They obviously know things that I don't. I just know that I've loved watching Kyle Sheets play football, and I'm really excited to see him going on to the next level. He, last season, 76 catches, 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns. Hello. Pretty awesome. He was at Temple's Pro Day, ran the 40, a 4.52. A 4.52 at 6'4", 220 pounds. Had a 37-inch vertical, had hit the bench press 16 times, and then a 10-foot, 2-inch long jump or broad jump, for those of you that prefer that kind of saying. The dude is a physical specimen. I'm really excited for him. He's a guy that I would not be surprised in the slightest if he sticks around and ends up making the damn 53-man or at least as a practice squad guy over there. Moving forward, though, let's talk about a guy that we had recently on the podcast, a dude who was playing at Wagner at the D1 level, transferred down, took a chance on himself at the D2 level. That's Chris Collier. He's the man from Lock Haven that we just featured most recently with his head coach, Dan Mulrooney. Chris was an absolute pleasure to talk to. Seems like a super down-to-earth human being. More importantly, The dude can play ball. He came in as 1 year left to a Lock Haven team that was incredibly lackluster and a very talented PSAC. That conference, he tore shit up down there in the offensive backfield. Was a threat, obviously, in the backfield between the tackles on the outside run. Was a target out of the backfield in the pass game. Kind of really did it all for that Lock Haven offense, and was a big reason, why they even had as good of a season as they had in kind of their recent history here. He's actually the first bald eagle from Lock Haven, that's their mascot, signed to an NFL to an NFL roster since Kari Kudala signed with the St. Louis Rams in 2011. So it's been 13 years at least since a guy from this team has even made it to the pros or even gotten their foot through the door. He was also at the pro day at Temple, finished in the top 10 among the combine running backs in the 40-yard dash, the bench press, vert, broad jump, and was first in the shuttle and the three-cone drill out of all the combine running backs. So it's going to be, really exciting to see what he does in rookie minicamp and see what he's got going on. He was the D2 Football Elite 100, a first-team All-American, basically a consensus All-American, which is pretty awesome. But we'll move forward. How about the quarterback position? And one that we don't see a lot of movement, especially out of D2. You don't see a ton of guys. Tyson Bagent's a great example. A lot of people fell in love with him last year at the Bears. But this is a guy that definitely is not on a lot of people's radar. How about Casey Ballman from Augustana? And he is making his way over to LA with the Chargers. And what's interesting about Casey, he's obviously a dog. Like, he's a dude that can play ball. His journey to Augustana previously was at Montana State. And when he was there, he started the first 3 games of their season in 2019. And then the remainder of those 2 years, he was actually the backup. So that prompted the transfer in 2022, became a starter at Augustana, and just tore shit up. 2 seasons with Augustana was 61% passing, over 4,000 yards, over 40 tuds, and ran for over 500 yards too. Really just did a lot. They did kind of a lot of everything for that Augustana team after making the move over from the Bobcats. But what's interesting about him, sorry, I got away from the point a little bit, is that he's Canadian. He was raised on the border in Sumas, Washington. I'm hopefully pronouncing that correct. He qualified for Canadian citizenship through his mother, Kelly, who was born in Abbotsford, British Columbia. He was added to the 2024 CFL draft in early March. Kind of interesting. So he went to the CFL Combine as well and went through all of that, that testing and things. The CFL Combine is actually slated for tomorrow as I record this, today as you're listening, April 30th at 8 o'clock at night. But it's kind of interesting. It says here, his unexpected NFL opportunity throws a significant wrench into his stock because now, how does that look? I don't think he was graded as a very high pick in the CFL draft, but could have definitely been a guy that could have gone there. It'll be interesting to see how that plays into this. For him, though, the CFL could certainly prove as a great backup plan for him. The limits with, we talked with Pat about the number of American players that can be on those rosters. So for him to have that kind of dual citizenship or identify, I guess, as a Canadian, that sounds kind of funny. But that's huge for him as far as opportunities moving forward. Let's get through a trio. Yes, not one, not a duo, but a trio of Argonauts from West Florida that have signed professional deals. That's incredible to me. The first dude that we'll start out with, John Giles, the wide receiver from West Florida. This is the quote from that same Lance Zierlein. He says, Giles has arms like veins, showed off his ridiculous catch radius on more than one occasion during his college career. Can certainly attest to that. He came in and just lit up the scene at West Florida. And we'll talk about Pee Wee Jarrett here in a minute. He was a big reason for that and throwing him the ball. But John Giles did a ton of great work for that West Florida offense, coming in after a really, filling the shoes of a really talented wide receiver last year, and David Durden, who got a shot with the Cowboys. Although I do believe Durden, his rookie season kind of took a turn for the worse. He had a torn ACL in training camp, but was showing out over there. So we'll hopefully see David Durden get another chance. But as far as Giles goes, 6'2", filled the shoes certainly of Durden, at least when it came to West Florida. He was also named to the CBS Sports Top 25 Small College Prospects, sitting at number 12 there. So this pick here and him getting a deal was not really a surprise at all. He was also at the College Gridiron Showcase. That brought a lot more eyes to him. Talk about one kind of like put it on the map type of game for him. He caught 3 touchdowns, had 277 yards receiving against North Greenville during the season. That was ridiculous, and that was actually the second most in a single game among all NCAA divisions during the season, trailing just one random performance. But that's just the caliber that he's in. That was kind of just what he did in 12 games there. He had a program record for receiving yards in a single season, 1,255. 16 touchdowns to his name as well. And the man throwing him the pigskin is not going to play for the Giants, but will be around a very similar area. Pee Wee Jarrett is going to the New York Jets with actually one of the cleaner graphics and like jersey swaps that I've seen. This looks ridiculously cool. But Pee Wee is a guy that we've talked about a lot on this show, had him on the show, was really excited for him to see this news. He's a dude that fits the NFL kind of quarterback prototypical build, I would say, certainly. Now, the quarterback room in New York is going to be interesting. Aaron Rodgers comes back from the torn Achilles. You've also got another vet in Tyrod Taylor there to be a pretty experienced backup. And they bring in Jordan Travis from Florida State, who you would assume to be kind of the penciled-in third-string guy there. If they're going to keep the 3 quarterbacks, they'll stick probably to that system. The good thing for Pee Wee is that it's been reported that Travis is still recovering from that broken leg he suffered in November. And not to obviously it stinks that he had to suffer that injury and probably actually kept them from a playoff run. But the good news for Pee Wee is that if Jordan actually is still sidelined through like the rookie minicamp and things of that nature, is that Pee Wee is going to get a shot. He's going to get a shot to get a lot of reps. And he's a guy that came from a JUCO college. He was at Iowa Central Community College, was there for 2 years, transferred to West Florida in 22, and then in 2 years at West Florida, man, he threw for over 5,000 yards, ran for over 1,000. He's 6'3", 225 pounds. He really good athleticism out of the pocket, dual threat guy, makes things happen, can kind of just be like a playmaker and kind of extend plays outside the pocket. He's a lot of really good things going for him. I know his accuracy has come under question before from different scouts that I've read bits on, but I don't think there's, it's going to come down to what does he actually get a fair shot and a fair shake in camp. My feeling is, why the hell would they sign him if they're not going to give him that chance? I think he'll make the most of whatever he does get. We'll see how that quarterback room pans out. It's going to be very interesting over there in New York. But the third and final Argonaut that I wanted to mention, crazy, by the way, that they have 3 guys that have already signed deals. And I'll briefly mention this guy because admittedly I just don't know enough about him, but Desmond Bland here, the offensive lineman going to the Saints as well. He's inked that deal. So once again, not 1, not 2, but 3 Argonauts already having professional deals just a day after the draft is concluded. That is so awesome for a Division II program that started less than 10 years ago, right? Less than a decade old this program is. They've already been in national championships and done these incredible things, won it. It's just so many great things coming out of this program. Excited to see what the future holds for these guys and for that Argonaut program down there in Pensacola. But let's keep moving forward here. And we'll go on to, once again, a guy that I can really confidently say I'm just not really, I'm not familiar with his game. I need that Shaq meme right about now. That would actually be really appropriate for this. But Jelani Baker, the wide receiver from Limestone, is someone that I have not heard a whole lot about, but you best believe I'm going to do my research now. I got to get hip on this young man. He's been obviously getting in front of the right eyes. He's going to the Baltimore Ravens, and really excited for him. And some of the write-ups, on Jelani here, talking about his playmaking ability. He is 6'2", 195 pounds, so got a good frame on him. Did a lot of damage this year, over 1,000 yards for Limestone, 14 receiving touchdowns. Was a big part of the kick return and punt return game for them as well. So we'll see if that plays into kind of what he has going on at the NFL level. Lined up as the slot receiver, so he's very much an inside guy for this Limestone offense, which we'll see if that takes that to the next level. I would assume so. He doesn't really strike me as an outside guy in the limited things that I've seen on him. Again, I don't know much about this guy, but just excited to see him move forward. Says that has really good body controls and adjusts to back shoulder throws, balls delivered outside of his kind of immediate catch radius. He has evaded contact throughout the route, swift, concise swim move, keeps hands off the frame. A lot of good stuff written about him here. But again, sky's the limit for this dude. Hopeful to see him at least on a practice squad. If not, make the damn 53-man roster moving forward. How about another guy that caught me maybe a little bit by surprise? Rico Payton, the defensive back from Pittsburgh State, also going to the Saints. I guess shout out the Saints, man. You know how many guys, just from this list that they've signed, the small school guys? That's a pretty neat deal in itself. Now, he's an interesting kind of deal here is that Pitt State had their own pro day back in March, and the Chiefs, Colts, Jaguars, 49ers, Packers, Vikings, Patriots, and Falcons all attended that pro day. New Orleans wasn't even there, but they like this guy obviously a lot. They certainly like their small school prospects. He had an official top 30 visit with them, and then also had a top 30 visit with an unnamed AFC team, so was garnering a bit of interest from elsewhere in the league as well. Really excited for him and a Pittsburgh State squad. We've seen a lot of talent come out of there. You'll notice Devin Garrison is not a name on this list, which was pretty surprising for me because he's a guy I thought definitely would have gone. The unicorn, the D2 tight end who had just been stellar for that guerrilla offense. But another guy we've had on the show, we'll kind of close out, close to closing out this part of the pod. Trey Vavel from Minnesota State. He signs, puts pen to paper for the Atlanta Falcons. And if you guys know anything about Trey, obviously as a defensive back, but you won't probably see him going to play DB for the Falcons. I would assume this is more of a special teams get, and if he starts there, maybe weasels his way into a DB job over there in Atlanta. That'd be awesome. He's 5'10", 173 pounds, really lean right now. Got to put that weight on, but you talk about the new rules when it comes to kickoff coming to the NFL and seeing how maybe teams are going to approach this differently. They want some more dynamic playmakers back there. He's very comfortable with the ball in his hands. They returned both kicks and punts from Mankato. A lot of big things coming for Trey, who, by the way, their running back over there, Sheen Butler-Lawson, just jumped in the portal. That is big news. Not great news, but big news for that Mankato offense. Finally, though, wrap it up with the UDFA signings. How about New Haven? A team we don't talk about too much here on the pod. They had a guy go, and that's the tight end Kevin Folch on signing the free agent contract here with the Panthers. Big time. Devin Holmes, another guy from New Haven, had a mini camp invite. I want to make sure I mentioned that as well. So some guys from the NE10 getting some NFL love. Love to see that. But I'm going to quickly go through some of these guys that had some mini camp invites as well. We won't spend too much time talking about them. You'll see here we've got, to start things off, two Grand Valley guys, the first of which being Cade Peterson, the quarterback, staying local, gets the invite to the Lions mini camp, which is exciting for Cade. Certainly another quarterback that has a pro build. He's a dual threat guy. I've seen him play in person. He's the real deal. This guy, very much in the same boat. Christian McCarroll, defensive lineman, he's going to Indy for their mini camp. This might have been one of the, if not the best defensive player in the GLIAC. That says a lot for this conference. He was a difference maker and a dude that was very much, in that same conversation. This man, linebacker Julius Wilkerson from Davenport, he's going to Tampa Bay to ball out with the Bucs. Let's stay on the topic of big-time defensive playmakers with Deshaun McCarthy here, the invite from the Kansas City Chiefs. This dude has pulled in just about every accolade possible down there in the PSAC, and when it comes to the national standings, has all the numbers when it comes to a physical standpoint to check those boxes. And another interesting piece here, not one but two Limestone wide receivers showing some love here by NFL teams. Oh, right there. There we go. Excuse me. Drew Dixon. He's going to be in Green Bay with the Packers for their rookie mini camp. And Limestone, how about that? That kind of came out of nowhere for me. Not one but two guys from that Limestone offense, two pass catchers that are going to be getting chances at the NFL level. Moving forward, though, how about from Concordia, St. Paul, Jake Edwards? The tackle, offensive tackle from over there. Not a name I'm too familiar with, but happy for him. He's got another chance with the Saints. Add it to the number of Saints, small school guys that they're picking up. Talked about Kevin earlier on. Devin Holmes from New Haven, He's, again, a really multifaceted guy that had some big things to do with their special teams play. Was just kind of a utility knife, like a Swiss Army knife for that Charger offense over there. Got pretty sick uniforms, by the way, on that blue turf. It's pretty cool. But that's the most of it for D2 guys. Like I said, I'm sure I probably missed a couple names. Actually, I hope I missed a few because that means there's more guys getting deals done and making that jump to the next level. But before we get into the rest of the stuff in the podcast, let's bring on Jimmy Martin, talk about the D3 guys getting deals at the next level. All right, we're going to move over, talk about some D3 players signing deals with Jimmy Martin. And Jimmy, before we get started on this, a note for you. Only 14 players from Division III have been drafted since 1999. Man.
That doesn't shock me just because of like the D3 label. But obviously there's talent that comes out of Division III, and we'll get to it. But there's more than a handful of guys who need an NFL opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, when people, like you said, it's not, I guess, anything out of the status quo for there not to be a draftee. Like, we're not really averaging that. But, there are a couple of guys on this list that I will admit, at least one or two, that I was kind of surprised we did not hear their name called. The first of which probably being the one we'll start it off with, the defensive monster from Platteville. I really thought there was, if anyone, I thought, we've heard so much hype about Justin throughout the last even 3 years. He's been a consensus All-American the last 2. If there was somebody, I thought we might have heard his name this weekend, man.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I wasn't like fully expecting him to get drafted, but would I have been like, who would have been the first guy I would think that would have drafted in Division III is Justin Bladley. So, again, 60 tackles, 8.5 sacks this year. The guy's won Defensive Player of the Year in the WIAC twice, 2-time All-American. He's the funny thing is he had 3 rushing touchdowns and he threw a touchdown too. So he's kind of like J.J. Watt, where he's like a weapon on offense.
That is ridiculous.
Early in his career in Houston, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool how he can be like playing on both sides of the ball. We'll see if that happens in the league. Probably not, but hey, you never know. At least you know what he can do on offense a little bit.
Yeah, and then obviously the D3, a knock on a lot of the guys is usually like a size and speed and measurables type deal. He checks, I think, just about every one of those boxes. So then the obvious question mark becomes the competition level. We're going from D3 to an NFL team. And when we have seen glimpses of him playing against tough competition, the WIAC being a prime example of that, but also great examples in the this last year playing against a quality D2 team in Michigan Tech and playing against some quote-unquote upper-level squads. He has gone above and beyond just about every way. And I think, again, it goes back to just being the competition, and that jump. But, right now, when you look at the Bengals, the team that he is, you see that is going with a pretty, I don't know if I'd say a stacked defensive line unit, but I think there are a lot of pieces coming back. I do believe they just had, why am I blanking on the name? Is it Hendrickson? They just requested a trade, a big name out of that defensive line room there. So there will certainly be opportunities for him. It looks like they also did pick Cedric Johnson. They picked up another defensive lineman who I don't even believe he's a lock, quote unquote, to make the roster there. So he's going to have an uphill battle. Is that news to anybody?
No, in all honesty, anyone getting picked outside of the top 4 rounds is probably fighting for something too. So it's not like every single draft pick is guaranteed to make it over undrafted free agent kind of guy. So once you get into camp, you just got to go in there and ball out. Yeah,
and something that I've actually, doing a little bit of reading from I like reading from the NFL, the random NFL outlets, because they're obviously hypercritical of all these guys, as they should be, you know what I mean? But it's nice to hear it from someone other than us or D3 football or their own schools writing about them, because we tend to just gas people up and talk positively, because that's, it's fun. But one thing that has been commonplace even throughout some of the random Bengals publications and things is that a lot of these D3 guys, although maybe the immediate, potential and those kind of things doesn't stack up to their D1 counterparts, the ceiling on a lot of these guys tends to be higher because for a multitude of reasons. Maybe they didn't have the facilities, the coaching, the scheme didn't fit, whatever it is. Maybe they just haven't tapped into all that potential. The ceiling on a lot of these guys seems to be very high in comparison to some of their D1 counterparts. And Cole Burgess, we can stick with the Bengals from Cortland. He's another guy I think fits right into that category.
Yeah, anytime you make 87 catches for 1,300 yards and 16 touchdowns, you're going to turn some heads. And Cole Burgess obviously did that this year. One of two Cortland receivers on this list that we're about to talk about, by the way. Cortland obviously just had a stellar run this year, knocking off North Central, just the absolute powerhouse. And you can see why they did it with all these weapons on offense. You got Zach Boyes as well. The quarterback was slinging the rock around all year. Burgess, absolute stud. They were talking about him on I believe it was like ESPN or NFL Network. Like they were actually like giving these guys like some pub. Which was
Yes,
really
we
cool to
posted that. We posted out
Yeah.
the clip from the NFL Network, the Stump the Truck segment, and so the guys go around. If you haven't seen it, go to our social. It's a cool little bit. But the guys go around, Rich Eisen, Schrager, and the boys. They go around. Rappaport's on there, and they try and pick names to see if the truck has highlights for them or not. So typically these are the smaller school guys, the guys that are fringe, draft day kind of guys. Cole Burgess, they did have the cut-ups on him, and they had some nice cut-ups at that. And again, it all goes back to the questioning of the competition. But one thing that came up a lot in that, and they showed it on the tape, was just his ball tracking ability and overall just speed and quickness. Now, a lot of the criticism too in his game, you talked about the absolute volume of catches. I think a big part of the criticism comes from, okay, how is he getting the ball in most instances? Cortland, they do a great job of just getting their playmakers the ball in space. They don't really care how that happens, so that becomes a lot of bubbles, short routes, quick slants, quick hitters on the inside. He was great at it. From an NFL scout's perspective, might not be the most enticing thing to watch from a wide receiver prospect.
Yeah, but like again, like you said earlier, he has all those great intangibles like ball tracking ability, quickness, running those routes. Also, I mean, it's still something to show for. Like, you have a lot of quick game in the NFL, and then you can't just ignore the fact that he can make those routes and make those plays, and maybe making like a catch like that over the middle is kind of like a valuable asset in a lot of ways too. So.
Yep. And that's where the Bengals, where it gets kind of interesting too, looking at both their wide receiver and their defensive line rooms. So Cam Sample and Joseph Aside, they're going to be free agents after this year in the wide receiver room, and two guys where their future I think is a little bit uncertain. You also have, as far as big name goes, you're looking at like T. Higgins, what happens over there, like with his situation, and there's a lot of pieces that'll shake up in that wide receiver room. On the D-line, Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, only under contract through 25, so obviously all through this year, but then next year kind of gets a little shaky there. But if they can stick around, these two guys in particular, in Burgess and Blazek, if they can stick around through this year, if it's a practice squad guy, if they can find their way onto that practice squad, it seems to be there might be kind of a light at the end of the tunnel for these guys, and the opportunity could be there. Now, who's to say they don't go and ball out and make the squad this year? That'd be awesome. But it looks like there might be more of an opportunity in the future for these guys, and if they can just hang on and stick around for that, they're gonna have a good chance. But let's talk about another wide receiver though, and this guy who has had much more hype, I think, leading up into this process, coming from especially a powerhouse, Mount Union. Talk to me about Wayne Ruby, man.
So obviously with Wayne Ruby, you think, okay, Mount Union receiver, and there's another Mount Union receiver that was playing in the NFL, Cecil Shorts. So you have like the big name going for you already. He's obviously, a lot of people are a huge believer in him because he's just, like we said before on many episodes, this guy is just consistent, like year after year after year. He had 5,600 yards, 74 touchdowns, and 362 receptions in college.
Yep.
I mean, what more can you really ask for? I mean, like weaker competition or not, like those types of numbers are something where you have to give this kid an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like he's given these NFL scouts absolutely no choice. When you score 74 touchdowns in college, it's okay.
It's absurd.
This guy's going to get a chance. So
like
we always say, if you're a dog, they'll find you no matter where you are.
Yeah, man. And all those numbers that you just mentioned, all historic leaders leading the team in school history in all three of those categories. And Cecil Shorts, guess where he played, Jim? Jaguars.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
So I would assume, I mean, again, I don't think coincidences work like that. I would assume, hey, it's panned out on one guy. This dude producing a hell of a lot, even more so than the guy that we really liked out of there. Let's give him a chance, see what happens. There was a blurb here from one of the kind of the Jaguars pundits, and I'll just kind of read it. Talks about Ruby. It says he's a dynamic playmaker, excels at stretching the field horizontally. We can obviously agree with, even though the vertical ability, I think, is something that's talked about with him a lot more. That's something that they've identified. Says he has an excellent football IQ, does a fantastic job reading defenses, identifying soft spots and zone coverage. He's got quick burst off the line of scrimmage, creates separation, and then makes defenders miss to create yards after catched. So sounds like a lot of really good deals. Really good deals if you're a wide receiver. Not the largest frame ever. I do believe he might be a little, maybe close to 6 foot.
He
I
is
want to
6
say,
foot, yeah. Based on the
going off
roster,
memory,
he
so
is
not
6
terrible.
feet.
But that's obviously going to come into question with quite a few of these guys. And, Burgess was one, too, that he's got to, put on some weight. But when he gets up to this level, he's only at, 170, 180 pounds. These guys have to certainly put on like more of an NFL frame. And if you can get yourself there and be around a really great strength coach and strength staff, they'll get you right, man. But we'll go back to Cortland, though. JJ Lapp getting it done with the Rams. And I guess just off the rip, dude, for a D3 team to have two of their guys have pro opportunities after a year like this, that's incredible.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, we can see why Cortland won the national championship this year. They were just absolutely stacked on offense. I mean, you see Lapp here, 70 catches, almost 1,300 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Again, when you put up numbers like this, like we've said a couple times already, you're going to get an opportunity. Whether it's the NFL, eventually maybe even like the CFL or the UFL, where it's like these guys are going to like continue their careers just because they've shown so much, and just an absolutely dynamic playmaker. Look for him to maybe make the roster. Like we say, you never know when a guy like, because look at a guy like Puka Nacua for the Rams last year. A couple of injuries. You throw him in there. He was like a late round pick, unexpected.
Yep.
And he just was the total stud this year for the Rams. So they give smaller school guys a shot in LA.
And it helps when the guy throwing you the ball makes you better, right? And that's something that he's done over there time and time again. But JJ's a guy that I think where him and Cole maybe differed a little bit. They were both great on the deep ball, but JJ's like straight line point A to point B speed, something that we watched throughout that playoff run and even during the regular season for the Red Dragons, just separated him from I think a lot of different wide receivers. It'd be interesting to see if he gets included in the special teams conversation with speed like that, whereas Cole was a guy that I think navigated a lot of open field and kind of inside routes very well in traffic and had great retention on those catches, maintaining the ball. JJ was consistently just burning people deep on the outside and defensive back safeties, whatever it was. And he commanded a lot of attention for that offense. He was a focal point for the offense. That was nothing new for him. So it will be interesting, too, to see a guy like that play obviously a secondary role. You don't go into rookie minicamp with the Rams, being the guy, right? So to see him in a secondary role and not having to be that dude that commands all the attention would be obviously beneficial for him.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Especially being a little bit younger, as a rookie too, for sure.
We'll stay right on the wide receiver train. Funny enough, we got quite a few of them actually. Now that I think of it, but a dude that we saw play in person, and I'm quite literally maybe the jack of all trades, dude. D'Angelo Hardy getting it done and signing a deal with the Ravens. Not surprised at all to see him in this position. Again, it would have been probably a reach to see him get drafted, but then again, out of all these wide receivers, this is probably a guy that has the most comparable NFL frame. Would you say when it comes to a size and measurement standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, this guy can absolutely do it all. He can throw, run, he can return kicks. And obviously, weirdly enough, I saw ESPN post this graphic, and they labeled him like the most versatile receiver in the class.
Really?
Because he can do everything. Yeah, there's this one picture on ESPN. I swear it was like a real account too, and they actually like put him in there. So I was really cool to see that, getting him recognized for that, and you can see why. I mean, you just got to turn on the film. He does it year after year. Just makes tons of crazy plays. Like I think the coolest play was when he returned that onside kick for a touchdown.
That was pretty dope. Yeah.
I was absolutely
also
wild.
The timing of that too, right? Because that was the moment when the crosses really started to stage something. You're like, oh shit, like we could really have something here, and he just put it to bed immediately.
Game over. Ice in his veins.
Yeah. But 6'2", 200 pounds, at least on the roster. Maybe he's even added to that frame this offseason. Don't know. Haven't obviously been around the dude. But at 6'2", 200, you've got a frame that's built to go in there and make some plays. And if any wide receiver room has had a lot of question marks, it is the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver room. They started to make some big-time additions there. We'll see if that continues. And it's always interesting to look at these position groups because do you sign many of those guys in the draft, or are this kind of needs that you address afterwards in the free agent market? That's where I think a lot of this gets very interesting. But speaking about kind of those, maybe more of those afterthought guys, we had quite a few guys that maybe haven't gotten deals done yet, but did get the invites to the mini camps, which I think is an important kind of separator because these UDFA guys are all signing deals, right? They're getting some kind of guaranteed money. A lot of that information information will probably come out in the next week or so. You do have some of that information from some of the D2 guys. I haven't seen anything, unless you have. I haven't seen anything on most of these guys yet in their deals.
No, yeah, I just have a couple of names here. You know, guys we talked about before, like Mike Bertoya, Alex Larson, Derek Sleekwa. Sorry, forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, Derek. Randolph Macon, wide receiver, David Wallace with the New England Patriots. Liam Thompson, the Wabash quarterback, is also getting the opportunity with the Giants, the actual Giants. So that's kind of cool. The little Giants and the big Giants, you know. So that's kind of cool. That's sourced by D3 Football. These guys here too, as well. I want to give credit to the sources that I on it from. So.
Yeah, man. And Bertoya's a guy we've talked about quite a bit. Obviously saw him and that lacrosse team play in person. Alex Larson was a guy that was featured on that from St. John's, the tight end. He was featured on that big board that we kind of put out and promoted as well. Something worth noting, too, with Derek out of Ithaca is got 2 invites, right, to the Chiefs and to the 49ers. So how about both the AFC and NFC champs? If you're going to get invites to 2 different spots, that's pretty wild.
Pretty sweet. That's pretty awesome, man.
That's pretty cool. A name I definitely wasn't familiar with quite as much, David Wallace, coming out of Randolph Macon, and he's not the first potential pro that we've seen come out of there. I don't know if you remember Anthony Kendall, that name ring a bell? He was a Randolph Macon guy, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so I have to...
Yeah, was he Baldwin Wallace?
Or no, was it Baldwin Wallace?
Yeah, it was.
Are they both B logos?
I think so. Yeah, it's like jackets. They're like the yellow jackets.
I'm gonna double check right now.
Well, what's funny about David Wallace is like that's like the guy with the name of an Office character. You know what I'm talking about?
Really?
You watch The Office? I don't know, but anyone watching this, be like, oh yeah, David Wallace. He's like Michael Scott's boss.
Oh Jesus, dude. Yeah, no, that throws me for a loop. I get those guys mixed up, but I'll double check on that. But yeah, and then finally, Liam Thompson, we've talked about a little bit on here. That was an interesting one, and he's a dude that was honored in the preseason, picked up some pretty big time awards. Was at that Peyton Manning quarterback camp and took home some hardware from there against some really quality competition. The knocks on like a D3 quarterback though, is that probably the toughest position, to make that jump?
I mean, yeah, I would say so because the quarterback's such like a blue chip position where it's like it's a deal breaker for GMs. Like you make your hires, you hire a guy or you fire a guy based on their history with quarterbacks. And
yeah,
obviously it's a D3 quarterback speaking right now. Like it'd be tough. It's tough to make that jump just because it's such a big position to draft on, and like that usually is like a first round kind of position as well too.
Yeah. No, I get that, dude. It was Baldwin Wallace, by the way. So
yeah.
Randolph Macon, they're the Yellow Jackets. Baldwin Wallace,
Hornets, maybe.
Dude, that's a great question. It doesn't even say.
I can't believe I got you slipping there, Kobe. That never.
Yeah, that's bad, dude.
Me.
That's bad, dude. Gosh, it's the logo.
Right.
The logo, the colors, man. Let's get it together here.
No,
D3
I agree.
ball.
It's close. It's tough.
Yeah. So no, that'll be interesting though. I'm excited to follow those guys. And hopefully we get some news on some guys going maybe alternative routes, whether it is CFL, UFL, those kind of things as those conversations move forward. Now we've kind of separated the pack of the guys that are going to have the NFL opportunities. You're not going to see much more of that moving forward. So now we'll get to see some more of those guys embracing the alternative routes and get to follow those guys and kind of their respective timelines. So it'll be fun to watch, man. I'm excited to get these guys hopefully in camp, and even if they are like practice squad guys, just get their foot in the door.
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right, brother. That's I think that's all we got for tonight. I appreciate you.
Right on.
Appreciate Jimmy coming on, giving us that coverage there. I would be remiss if I did not at least. I only saw one NAIA deal. Again, I hope I missed a few more. But this one was all over my feed. Really excited for Anthony Sau. I hope I pronounced that one correctly. From Mid-America Nazarene. He has signed a deal with the Falcons. And you know what I mean? NAIA, really tough because there's just a lot of unknowns. Feels like the Wild West in a lot of ways, whereas D2 and D3, I think maybe talent evaluators are a lot more familiar with that. So really happy to see him getting this opportunity with Atlanta. We have seen some more NAIA guys in the last couple of days get some mini camp invites. Once again, be sure to check out our page and our likes column and those things so you can check out all those guys. But shout out to Anthony. I wanted to make sure I gave him his flowers on this show because that is an awesome accomplishment. and to put the NAIA world on the map, if at least just a little bit. We'll get Schwarzler back on here a little bit later, maybe next week, and talk about Anthony in more detail. But let's kind of close out the podcast on some quicker notes here. The first of which, Wesley Coleman. This man from Harding, they call him Big Wes. You're going to see why, and this is the first video that I'll show you. This is 500-pound bench press, right? It says here, when Big Wes puts his mind to something, you can guarantee you're going to get it done. Let me take a look here at old Big Wes, see what he does with this 500 pounds.
Come on,
Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. He only had to fight for the last like 1/6 of the lift. I don't know, like, come after me. Yeah, he bounced that shit, whatever. When you can bounce 500 pounds off your chest, come talk to me. Or more importantly, come talk to Wes. That is ridiculous. He's throwing around 500 pounds. Humans aren't supposed to be able to do that, especially humans at Division II schools. That's awesome. What's even more impressive, I think, than the 500-pound bench press, you say, oh, wait, does this dude hit leg day? Does he skip legs? What's the deal here? How about an 800-pound squat from Big Wes? That bar is fighting for its life. Hoodie, no sleeves, menace. Like, when I tell you, again, 800 pounds is not supposed to move like that. The dude's got solid form, and yes, we can go back and check the depth too, right? Pretty solid. You're not going to win any powerlifting competitions with the depth. That's a lot better than what we see for a lot of guys. You know what I mean? He's at damn near parallel right there with 800 pounds, and the lift all the way through, just smooth. Super smooth throughout the entire way. Spotter ain't need to jump in or nothing. That, my friends, is an impressive human over there for Harding. And for those of you not familiar with Harding, first of all, get your head out from under a proverbial stone, because Harding won the national championship this last year, went undefeated, running the triple option. They got beasts like Wesley on both sides of the ball. But they are just made of a bunch of really hard-nosed, tough-ass dudes. It looks like here, he is listed at 6'2", 325 pounds. He's a hometown guy. He's from Little Rock, Arkansas. They play in the GAC, the Great American Conference down there. And he has 49 tackles in his career, 11 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Got a forced fumble recovery in there. Dude's getting it done, right? He's getting it done over there. He was second team All-GAC in 2022, and was actually first team all-conference in 23 for their championship run. So we love to see dudes that get it done in the weight room, but it also translates over to the field. Big Wes, great example of that over at Harding, man. Good for him. Dude, that's so awesome. That is, like, ridiculous. Okay, let's officially close out the pod here on this last note. There were two. One, I think it was just like a funny tweet that I wanted to bring up, and the other one was... Oh, yeah, here we go. So the tweet says here, for those of you who can't see, my freshman year in college when I was redshirting, tired of being on the scout team, I faked sick so I didn't have to go to practice. My coach pulled up on me, called me a bitch, then kept it pushing. I haven't missed a practice nor a day of work since. Sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. Football breeds awesome individuals. Shout out coach. The first reply says position coach or head coach? Head coach. Hell yeah. Sleeping through practice. Head honcho pulls up at your front door. Called me a bitch and then kept it pushing. That is an awesome sentence. I had to throw that on here. I thought that was hilarious. But that's real life. Like he says, I have not missed a practice nor a day of work since. It's accountability. Like he says, calling it a spade, calling it just how you see it. And that's what football is great for, man. I had to highlight that. I love that tweet. That'd be like my tweet of the week. We might need to start that. My not tweet of the week, or whatever the hell the opposite of tweet of the week is this bullshit that was on my feed. I'm not even going to do the dude the service of playing his highlights here. I'm just going to read what it has to say. This man, Brandon Tyrone Jr., I'm not going D2 or lower, so y'all can forget about that. I put my trust in Lord Jesus Christ, and I thank you for the blessing I have received. If I don't receive a PWO or offer, I will be walking on at Houston and competing for a spot. I'll earn a scholarship. First of all, I ain't going D2 or lower. Can we get these kids right in the head? You can see I didn't even like the tweet either. I just bookmarked it. I didn't even want to give them the satisfaction. But and a matter of fact, I'm gonna unbookmark it right now. Because yes, this shit is just engagement farming. This is almost a worse tweet than look between W and A on your keyboard. This is almost worse engagement farming than that. And he's gotten his farming out of it. He's got me talking about it. It's just a terrible mindset to have, man. And most people on Twitter agree with me, thankfully. That they just an awful take from this guy. I hate to see guys put this out there. There's less and less of it, less of the bad rhetoric about small school football. But it still is just frustrating to see, okay, it's one thing to think this way. It's another thing to go out and post this and be an arrogant ass and put this out on social media. Just my 2 cents. Just trying to call a spade a spade. That's what football's about. It's been D1 Rejects. I'm Kobe Manzo. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate y'all.